Hey everybody, welcome to Shark Scrapper Live, where we talk about the big picture trends swirling around the world of scrap, recycling, and investing in the companies that influence scrap and recycling or are in some way connected to the world of scrapping and recycling. So if you're a scrapper, recycler, or an investor, this is a great place to be on a Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard every week. Today's live stream is brought to you by me because I don't have any sponsors. But hey, if you work for a great big old company and you want to sponsor me, drop me a line at sharkscrapper@gmail.com and we can talk about it. Now, remember, we're here to share and learn from each other. So I look forward to your comments, but please be respectful. No foul language, no abusive behavior, no trolling. And the mighty Scrapping Irish will be monitoring to make sure that everybody behaves. All right, now, what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to start out talking about palladium for our precious metals category. And then I want to revisit gold for a little bit in there as well. For the base metal stuff, we're going to be talking about lead and copper. Talking about what's going on in copper right now. Everybody's on the buzz about copper. We've got a cool safety tip for the week. And then our stock market review for this week is the beverage industry. So that has some really cool players in it. All right, with all of that out of the way, I just want to say hello, Scrapping Irish, New England Scrapper, Grass Cutter Palmer, welcome, welcome. Gaz, welcome. See you, Scrapping. How's it going, Roger? Great to see you. Dean, what's up, man? Great to have you all here. Jason, welcome. Great to see you here, man. All right, so let's get right into palladium. All right, so, we all know palladium. It's the symbol PD, and it's number 46. On the periodic table. It's a rare silvery metal discovered in 1803 by an English chemist named William Hyde Wollaston, and it was named after an asteroid, Pallas. Now, there's a bunch of other history behind all of that connection and stuff. If you're really curious, you can Google it. One of the main uses of palladium, over half of it is used in catalytic converters. So just as our discussion last week was talking about the impact of electric vehicles and things like that, we see those same kind of influences playing on palladium. Now, palladium is also used, though, in the electronics industry, dentistry, medicine, hydrogen purification, groundwater treatment, jewelry, and has some chemical applications. Now, let's take a look at what palladium has been doing price-wise here. We can see the last 24 hours, not a whole lot of movement here. It's up 0.15%. That's pretty much basically flat, right? But I like to look at the long-term stuff, right? So let's go and take a look at the long-term history for palladium. And, we can see that it hasn't had that same kind of up and down and gyrations that gold and silver have had. Relatively stable out here in the late 90s. It had a little bit of a peak here in 2001, then was relatively flat with, again, slow rise, going up, slow rise, And then things sort of took off for a little while here. You got the here's 2019 right here. This is when COVID hits here, right? So palladium climbs probably because people were investing in it, not so much that it was being used a lot, but palladium is also used as a hedge against inflation, like gold and silver and such. And now we see it starting to drop off again. So that drop off is actually really important because remember we said that palladium, similar to platinum, is driven as much by the supply demand cycle as it is precious metal value. And with EVs coming into play, you've got this You've got this situation where we may not need as many catalytic converters. Plus, scrapping catalytic converters is very popular. So you've got a lot of activity, in the recycle market, pushing a lot of material back in. So there are actually some sources that are saying that in 2023, 24, they're going to start to see a overage stock, they're not quite a glut, but there's going to be more palladium available than the world really needs for the industrial demand. So the prices might start coming back down. All right, now here's the question though. For all of the e-waste scrappers in the crowd, where do we usually find palladium? I'm not talking about catalytic converters now. I'm talking about where do we e-waste scrappers usually find palladium? Go ahead and put your notes, put the answer into the chat there, because I'm hoping that a bunch of you know this answer. So if I don't see the answer coming up here, I'm going to be, I don't know, somewhat disappointed. Let's see. Oh, by the way, yeah, the Christmas tree's gone. Yeah, no more Christmas tree. All right, I'm about ready to give you the answer because I don't see. Hey, Ralph, great to see you here, man. Silver Scorpion. Dean, let's see. Come on. MLCC's New England Scrapper gets the prize. MLCC's is absolutely the right answer. And some of you may recall that I did a video on this very issue. MLCCs, you've got the noble metal electrode MLCCs, and they use palladium, excuse me. So if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. It's a little bit dated now, but the information is still there. And it's actually one of my more popular videos. So, all right. So let me know if you have any questions about palladium. Just checking my notes, make sure I covered everything. Oh yeah, the mining locations, primarily South Africa, but also US, Canada, and Russia. So, it's not as, it's rare, but it's not, like so isolated that it becomes terribly challenging when it comes to gold, the mining aspect of it. All right, so the next up, we're going to talk about gold again. And the reason why I want to go back over to gold is because, let's go back over here to gold. And, this is our third week that we've done this. And so if we go back and we look at the 1 month history for gold, what can we see? Well, gold has gone up. Just in the short time that I've been, holy cow, look at the size of that arrow. Let's scale that back a little bit. All right, just in the short time that we have been doing this live stream, gold is up 8%. And we were talking about that a little bit because of some of the market influences that were going on out there. And this has been a good thing for us because we have been able to see some of the prices going up in for the boards that we're selling. So if you have seen prices go up for your boards, go ahead and drop a note in the comments, because I'd like to know how much you've seen on the various prices. Let's see. Silver Scorpion is asking me, did I get? Oh, yes, I did. I did, Silver Scorpion. I got your package, and I'm going to do an unboxing video on it. Very cool. It's very, very cool. All right, so I just thought it was interesting that gold has gone up so much just in the short time that we've been looking at it. Now, Silver, on the other hand, the 1 month silver has also gone up, but not as much, only 5%. So what you'll recall that we looked at the gold to silver ratio in our previous stream, and you can see that the gold to silver ratio has, as you would expect, also gone up a little bit because of that gold has gone up more than silver has gone up, so the gold to silver ratio has gone up. It's kind of high still, right? High 70s. So, if you are one of these folks that trades in gold and silver and uses the gold to silver ratio, you may be thinking that silver is still kind of cheap. So you may be looking to make some silver acquisitions, expecting that, we're going to get some catch up. Okay, so we are back over now to base metal discussion. And remember, when we talk about base metal stuff, we go to the Kitco website because it has these nice historical charts for both the spot price and the inventory or the stock levels that help to drive the industrial metals, the base metals that we're interested in. Now, today we're going to talk about lead. Yeah, I know, it's like lead, really? That went over like a lead balloon. All right, sorry. Sorry. All right, lead. Now, what we can see here for the 5-year spot price, we can see that lead has actually gone down from about $1.20 a pound down here to, what is that, almost $1 a pound. We're in that $1 a pound range here. And we kind of, let's think through lead, right? What is the primary applications for lead or lead acid batteries? But the electric vehicles are going to be primarily using lithium because it's lighter weight. Plus, we know that lead is toxic, and so it is being phased out of a lot of applications. But there is certainly no denying that lead is still an important industrial metal. In addition to the lead acid batteries, it's still used in pigments, ammunition, cable sheathing, weights for lifting and diving, lead crystal glass, and radiation protection. Just as an example of why lead is important for some of these things like scuba diving, well, right here. There's a 3-pound weight. Let's get it so that you can see it. Excuse me. There's a 3-pound weight. You can imagine how big that would be if it wasn't lead. Excuse me. Man, got a frog in my throat all of a sudden. So there's still industrial applications for lead, and I don't see that we're ever going to not have lead as a part of our scrapping and recycling world. I still collect lead acid batteries and sell them off. And here's a very telling sign. The 5-year London Metal Exchange lead warehouse stock levels. And you can very clearly see that that's just, a downward trajectory. Now, we had some growth here because COVID shut down a lot of activities, so the stockpiles built up. But then as soon as the world started opening up, we saw lead starting to come down, and then it's just really plummeted since then. So overall, the lead inventories are going down, and we're still going to use lead, so that could be good for some lead price stabilization. You're never going to get rich with lead, but it's there. It's pretty common in batteries and such. So it's a good one to have. Now, an interesting thing about lead acid batteries here in Florida, anyway, I'm not really sure about where not really sure about where you're located, but here in Florida, lead acid batteries are a controlled item. So the average person, and I don't like this term, but what they call them here are peddlers. So the average peddler is allowed to sell 2 lead acid batteries per visit, whereas a scrap yard or a business, and because I am a scrap yard, I'm allowed to sell as many lead acid batteries as I want. So where I could come in with the Sharkmobile, maxed out with lead acid batteries, the average peddler can only sell 2 at a time. And it's just because they don't want people going around ripping batteries out of people's cars, just like the catalytic converters. So let me know, do you all have similar restrictions where you live? Hey, Miss Canadian Scrapper, Scrapping with Grandpa, welcome to the crowd. Ulrich, great to see you here, man. And I see E-Waste Mike is lurking around as well. Great to see everybody. Thank you. Monica, great to see you too. Hello. Okay, so I expect that we'll see lead hanging around for a while. I'm not that worried about it. I don't think we'll see a lot of price fluctuations, but it's there, right? Okay, now let's get over to what's going on in copper. So let's get back up to our charts and let's get over to the copper historical charts. Now, remember this, a month ago, when I first started doing these, and we saw this uptick, and we were saying, yep, copper prices are going up. And so here we can see this is the 5-year spot, and we can see copper starting to climb back up again. And this nice little uptick here is, you're going to see here in a minute why this is going on. So let's go down and look at the copper inventories. So 5-year copper inventories. And you'll recall when we first visited copper, we were talking about the fact that if you connected the peaks of the copper, you saw a downward trend. If you connected the bottoms of the copper, you saw a downward trend until you get to around here. And then you see there's like a floor, this floor that it appears that the industry holders don't want to bust that floor. Well, we're at that floor. You can see we're bouncing off of this floor here, and I believe that is contributing to the rise in copper prices. So, yeah, copper is definitely going to be continuing to go up. Now, a lot of people like to speculate on how high prices are going to climb. So let's go back up to the 5-year here. Oops, went right past the 5-year. 5-year copper spot. You can see that the 5-year high for copper was what, just shy of $5 in here. What is that, 480, 470-ish, something like that. So I would say that it's reasonable to believe the copper would get at least that high again. There's no reason not to expect that. It's their lowest levels that they in the inventory that they've been at for a long time. Copper use is going to continue to increase. You've got some issues with some of the mines. The wet weather has flooded out some mines. They're having some processing issues. So I don't see anything but more increases ahead for the price of copper. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about while I was on this chart was I recently sold some Bear Bright and some number 2 copper, sort of a test sale, if you will. And I got, for my Bear Bright, I got $2.90 a pound. And for my number 2, I got $2.65 a pound. I talked to a couple people and they said they were getting more. E-Waste Mike got more, did pretty well with some copper that he sold recently. And so, it was interesting to me because, so I'm looking at, the price for copper for spot versus what I got. And it's like, in the 70-ish% range. So, when you're thinking about what you're going to get when you go to your yard, I've sort of got this number in my head that says roughly 75% of spot is what I probably should be expecting from my yard. Now, your yard might be paying more because they're closer to a refiner or a user, but for me, that's sort of where I expect it. And if they're coming in really low, I'll just hold on to it before I take it in. Now, again, we all sell for different reasons. I am in this situation where, as a business, I've got expenses that I have to cover, rent, insurance, vehicle maintenance, this kind of stuff. So I have to have some cash flow. So I routinely sell material throughout the week. But copper is one of those things that I'm always holding back about 10%. And then I put it in a bin off to the side, and I just let that accumulate. So, about 10% of whatever I come up with during the week will get held off to the side, and then I'm selling material off in order to keep the cash flow going. Hello, Ian Matthews. Welcome to the game. So we got a nice comment. We have it. So comment here from Scrapping with Grandpa, the Canadian treasure hunter. He's getting a pretty good dime for his copper. Yep. I apologize for the coughing here, folks. I don't know what's going on. Good thing I got some coffee with me, huh? Hey, Bush Dog Scrapper. Great to see you, man. So I wonder if that's a Canadian thing. Are the processing plants in Canada really pushing copper, and that's why he's getting such good prices right now. Silver Scorpion says he's got a decent pile of copper. That's cool. That's cool. What else? Who else is playing copper here? If you're selling it or holding it. No, Ian, my expenses do not include beer. I gave up drinking a while ago. But for some people, that might be a legitimate expense. All right, let's see. Oops. There we are. Silver Scorpion says he's stacking until I see the price I want to sell at. Do you know what that price is, Silver Scorpion? I know that Mr. Ian Matthews had a price and his price was met, so he sold. Yep, there we are. He sold his at the price that he was looking for. And this is kind of important to think about. What's the price that you want to sell? If you're one of these hold and sell kind of people, well, you really need to know what you want to sell at, because otherwise what can happen is you can get in this situation where you're holding, and then that price, you blast through that price and you're like, oh man, I'm going to hold some more. And then it starts dropping and you've missed your price. So yeah, it's important to know what your sell price is and then have the discipline to stick to that. Let's see. Gaz says he generally holds 2,000 pounds in his stock. Holy cow. That is a good reserve. That's a good amount to hold on to. Yep, very good. I'm somewhat jealous. I don't have 2,000 pounds in my reserve right now. All right. Well, great conversation about copper. As always, let me know if you have any other questions, and we can always get back to that as we need to. All right. The next topic is safety, and today's subject is brain buckets. Now, sometimes in my videos, you will see me wearing my brain bucket. Why? Well, you'll notice that when I'm wearing my brain bucket, I'm usually at a particular scrapyard that uses the very large claw machine to move the shred pile around and load the big trucks to haul it away. Having met the guys that operate that machine, I decided that I should probably start watching my head. Somewhat joking. They're good folks. They try to be careful, but hey, let's face it, sometimes when they're picking up those large loads of shred and moving it around, things bounce around and stuff. So I decided that I would start wearing the brain bucket when I was at the scrap pile. Now, I got the brain bucket because there are some job sites that I go to that require full PPE, right? Steel-toed boots, eye protection, brain buckets. So this is for when I'm on a job site that I have to wear full PPE, and it comes in handy when I'm at the scrapyard as well. Now, I'm not saying everybody's got to go out and get a brain bucket. If you work around an area and you need one, then by all means, get a brain bucket. They're relatively inexpensive. It's good to have them just available if you ever need one. But they're not as important as, say, safety glasses for your eyes for everyday kind of stuff. Now, the other thing that should also be considered as headgear, head protection, is just like a baseball cap or something like that. If you are follically challenged, like some of us, the sun can be a pretty evil enemy, and skin cancer is not fun. It's dangerous. So if you're out in the sun a lot, put something on your head, a ball cap, a do-rag, a cowboy hat, whatever, just to help keep a little bit of the sun off of your head. I'm starting to look at something different that I can use when I'm street scrapping because, as you all know, I wear a GoPro on a head mount. And the head mount, although the top strap goes, pretty wide across the top of my head, but there's still a lot of exposure to the sun. And so I'm kind of thinking about maybe doing a little switch up there. They have these things that will clip the GoPro to the back of a ball cap. So you turn the ball cap around like the young kids wear it. You clip the GoPro on the front of it, and then you've got the protection against the sun. So I'm thinking about doing that. Plus, it'll make me look cooler, right? Wearing my ball cap backwards. Yeah, okay. Enough of that. All right, it is time for our stock market report. Now, remember, I use a very specific source for my information. I get all of my information from the Value Line Investment Survey. They do not accept advertising. Therefore, all of their data is unbiased to a, holy cow, Monica, thank you. Wow, that is very generous of you. Thank you very much, Monica. Greatly appreciated. So anyway, the Value Line Investment Survey, everything they make their money through subscription, so they have to keep people like me happy with unbiased, accurate data, and they don't have to worry about an advertiser. So I find it to be some of the best information out there, and then I can use it to bounce it against other sources of information as well. They break down various industries, and I thought it would be fun to talk about one that was in this week's edition. So this week's edition was dated the 13th of January. And the industry that I thought would be fun to talk about is the beverage industry. So, you got to say to yourself, well, why the beverage industry? Well, so first of all, some of you like to imbibe a bit. And so the beverage industry also includes the makers of distilled spirits. And there is one that actually meets my very rigorous requirements. But more importantly, the beverage industry is a huge consumer of aluminum. Aluminum cans, in particular, have to be one of the most recycled things on the planet. I've seen a number of reports that say that an aluminum can, from the time that you take it back to the scrapyard or put it in your recycling bin on the street, it can be recycled and back out as a new aluminum can within 30 days. Think about that, 30 days. That's just amazing. I've seen reports that say that 50%, half of all aluminum cans ever made, have been recycled. And when you're drinking a soda or a beer out of an aluminum can, chances are that up to 70 to 75% of the aluminum that's in that can is recycled component. So just amazing to think about that the amount of aluminum that gets turned around in that industry. Plus, aluminum is actually an infinitely recyclable material. So it can just get recycled forever. So a pretty cool product itself. But the beverage industry is kind of interesting, and we want to look at the beverage industry because if the beverage industry is doing well and they're cranking out these products, that means that we as scrappers and recyclers and people that are interested in those kind of materials can feel good that there's a good demand for the product, in this case, the aluminum. So the first company we're going to look at is CocaCola. Now, by the way, this green here tells you that I own Coca-Cola stock. Remember, I promised you that I would always let you know if I owned any of a company. So I'm telling you right now, I own some shares in Coca-Cola. Now, you may also recall, because I have said that I want a boring dividend yielding portfolio, and I try to get around 4%. But if you look at Coke right now, it's only yielding 2.9% on $63.60 a share. So you would say, well, that doesn't meet your criteria, Shark. Well, it did when I first started buying Coke many, many, many years ago. I built up a pretty good position in Coke, and I believe in a lot of the things that Warren Buffett says. You find a good company, you stick with it. There's no reason for me to get rid of it because I'm still earning a decent interest on it, and it's not costing me anything. Because I don't have to go buy new shares. The interest that I'm getting is buying new shares, so it just keeps adding to it without me doing anything. Automatically reinvested. So one of these days, maybe I'll be a millionaire off of Coca-Cola stock. Right, that's gonna happen. Yeah. Anyway, you recall that I look back at 17 years of cash flow per share, earnings per share, and dividends per share as a part of what I do with my investment decisions. And you can see that Coca-Cola did not pass here on the cash flow per share. They had some down years. They're allowed one down year or one flat year for earnings per share. They didn't make it there. They didn't make it on the earnings per year, per share per year, but they did make it on the dividends. They are what I call a div zero. That means that for the last 17 years, they have increased the dividends per share every year. They've actually done it quite a bit longer than that. So CocaCola is a pretty interesting company if you're interested, if you're thinking about making an investment in the beverage industry and you want to have a boring dividend yielding company. Coca-Cola is one to consider. Here's what it looks like graphically. And then if you look at the changes from year to year, you can see that the dividends, that's the yellow bars, they're always above the zero line. So pretty cool company. Something to consider for your portfolio. But there's always the eternal question: Coke versus Pepsi. Coke versus Pepsi. Regardless of your taste preference, there is a big difference between the two companies that you want to keep in mind. Coca-Cola just does well, they don't just do Coca-Cola, but they do beverages, right? So they do a bunch of other beverages. Let's see, what are the other beverages that are in Coca-Cola? Oh, Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, Fanta, Fresca, Dasani, Glacial Vitamin Water, Powerade, Minute Maid. So, it's all beverage kind of stuff. Now, compare that to Pepsi. Who knows where I'm going with this? I'm going to give you a minute to throw some comments down there. And actually, Gaz, I think Dr. Pepper is owned by Keurig. I think Keurig and Dr. Pepper are together. No, Ian, Diet Whiskey is not one of their products. But we're going to talk about whiskey in just a few minutes, so you may want to hang on. So who knows what really sets these two companies apart from each other? What is the main difference between Coca-Cola and Pepsi? I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to go ahead and make some. Monica, I'm sorry I missed your note about taking off to go get a shower. Please, yes, go get a shower if you need it. It was great having you here, and thank you again for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Oh, scrapping Irish. Yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll talk about the candy industry. Oh man, that's funny. Scrap guy, please remind me, and we'll go back and talk about this when we get near the end. Okay, when we get to the Q&A session. Price of pop. That's what a lot of people call it, is pop. Some people call it soda. The price of pop is going up, and for 1 liter of Coca-Cola is almost $2. At Family Dollar store, I'm wondering who is responsible for changing the prices of pop at the store. I don't know. The distributors, maybe. I'm not sure what drives all of that. Warren Buffett owns a piece of Coke. That's right, John. I consider myself to be in good company. That Warren Buffett also owns Coca-Cola stock. I'm just gonna. What am I gonna? I'm gonna go. Duh. All right. So here is one of the big differences between Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Pepsi is also a snack food company. So Pepsi also owns the Frito-Lay brand. So Pepsi beverages. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to read it right off of this because I was surprised when I first started paying attention to this. So PepsiCo operates 4 major businesses: Frito-Lay of North America, Pepsi Company Beverages, Quaker Foods, and Pepsi International Snacks and Beverages. Let's see. Their brands include Pepsi Cola, Gatorade, Tropicana, and their snack foods include Doritos, Ruffles, Lay's, Walker, Smith, Sabritas. So, if you're buying any Frito-Lay kind of thing, you're buying a Pepsi product. There's a big difference between the two companies. All right, well, let's take a look at their stocks because that's what we're paying attention to right now today. And we can see that their yield is 2.5% on $180.60. Holy cajoli, man, who can afford that kind of stock? Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can, right? Not me. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But hey, 2.5% dividend is not bad. And you will also notice that they are a div zero. So just like Coca-Cola, Pepsi has increased their dividends per share every year for the last 17 years. So that makes them a worthwhile company to also consider for your portfolio if you're willing to accept a little bit lower interest rate for the long haul. Now, you might want to consider Pepsi because they're more diversified than Coca-Cola, right? Coke is all in on beverages, whereas Pepsi has the snack foods and the beverages. So, maybe that's a consideration for you. But I got to tell you, for me, yeah, that right there is a hard pill to swallow. I like to slowly build up a position over time, and yeah, that's a lot of money to chunk down. Anyway, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that are saying, $180, yeah, no big deal. No big deal. That's nothing. But I'm not one of them. Okay, now, Ian, I promised you that we were going to talk about whiskey. In the beverage industry, there are companies that make distilled spirits. You've got Constellation Brands, and I think it's what's the other one? National Beverage, Boston Beer Company, Anheuser-Busch. Now, they did not qualify for various reasons for the way I look at stocks, but there is one that did. And if I remember to push the right buttons, Brown-Forman. You may not know the name Brown-Forman, but you may recognize some of these names. You ready? Jack Daniels, Finlandia, Korbel. So if you were celebrating the New Year's, you may have been celebrating with Korbel. If you're a whiskey drinker, then you might be preferential to Jack Daniels and some of the different iterations of Jack Daniels that are out there. Now, I realize that for a connoisseur such as Mr. Matthews, American whiskey may not be exactly the kind of thing that he's interested in, but in the world of distilled spirits, if you are interested in owning a stock in a company that's in the distilled spirits, it's funny, they call this company gets lumped in with what they call the sin companies, right? Because they're making alcohol. If you are looking for a company to invest in that does alcohol, and you want to get dividends, then Brown-Forman might be the company to consider. However, you got to pay attention to this. Their dividend is only 1.2%, right? That isn't great. And at $65.68 a share, that was comparable to Coca-Cola, which is getting you more for a dividend interest rate. So, yeah, not quite sure which way you want to go there. It's I do not own any Brown-Forman. That interest rate just doesn't excite me. So I'm not going to be buying into that. Nothing against the fact that they make booze. Hell, I used to drink booze. I just don't drink anymore. So I got nothing against that. But their interest rate just isn't where I want the interest rate to be. So you can, 1.2%. Let's look at Coke real quick again, just as a comparison. Coca-Cola at 2.9. So that was a bit better. Now let's see here. Urban Prospector. Pepsi dividend is close to Coke, but the price of the stock is 3 times as much as Coke. So for every 3 shares of Coke, you get 3 times the dividend. Good point. Yep. Good point. Another good reason to invest in Coca-Cola. The money that you're putting in Coke, you're going to get more out of it. Though that's dividends per share. So let's look at the actual dividend per share. Coca-Cola currently $1.84 per share, and Pepsi is paying $4.60 per share. So yeah, roughly three times. So yeah, I guess it's one of those things that when it's all said and done, it kind of balances out. But being able to come up with $180 is kind of steep, whereas a lot of folks could come up with, $60 or so to start buying up. So, yeah, I am very curious. Anybody else out there own any shares of Coke or Pepsi or, any of the beverage companies? And why are you out there? Yeah, Ralph, I agree, man. The way you drink that cherry Coca-Cola stuff, man, you should definitely be buying some shares. Because then you're paying yourself, right? Amy's asking, and Amy, by the way, I don't know if I said hello yet or not. I apologize if I missed you coming in. Great to have you here. Who owns the line of SodaStream syrup for the pop? Good question. Good question, Amy. I'd have to go back and do some research. I'm going to make a note here. SodaStream pop ownership. Because I know that I remember reading where some of the soda companies, pop brands, were working with SodaStream and actually licensing the syrup to them or letting them produce the syrup as a part of that SodaStream effort. Others, they were not, so SodaStream had to find some other substitute syrup maker for the SodaStream syrups. I just don't know who makes it for pop. I'll dig into that a little bit, see if I can come up with something, and if I can, I will address it next week. So I've got a note written down here to check into that. By the way, I have a SodaStream. I don't know how many people have a SodaStream. It's really kind of fun. You know, it's kind of cool. Um, I like using it when I'm home on the weekends and things like that because I can fizz up a nice a nice flavor combination, and and I'm not drinking the cans all the time. I don't have it at the shark cage. I have it at home. So the shark cage, I've got canned sodas, but I always have aluminum can sodas so that I can recycle the aluminum cans after I have consumed the soda. And I try really hard to only have at most one soda a day. Like I said, I try really hard to do that. Not always successful, but I do try to limit. And most of it is because I don't like the flavor of diet soda. So I end up drinking a lot of the real soda, the real CocaCola, and that's just a lot of sugar, right? So I try really hard to limit my Coca-Cola intake and drink a lot of water as well. Um, yeah, I need to look into that. That is cool. Let's see, what's this? Uh, I know how to make Mountain Dew Baja Blast, and it's basically regular Mountain Dew and blue Gatorade. Oh, cool. All right. Very cool. Scrapping Irish says there's a Coca-Cola factory 30 minutes away from him. They make over 200 flavors there. Yeah, they got a lot of flavors, don't they? And I think I saw Scrapping Irish. Didn't you say up here somewhere that you have? Yeah, right there. So Scrapping Irish, you either have Coke to drink or you have Coke stock. I'm not quite sure what you got that one. Scrap Guy says his regular job is printing, and Brown Forman is their second largest customer. I happen to work for the biggest printing company in the world. Holy cow, Sazerac owns a very large number of alcohol companies. Oh, okay. All right. Very cool. Yeah, printing industry is another one that's really kind of fascinating when you think about, cranking out labels and the way they get put on bottles and things like that. Just fascinating. And then the amount of effort that goes into properly designing labels is another one that just really fascinates me. At one point in my history, I worked for a company that made the machines that test to see if cans and bottles are full. It was a company called Taptone. They were part of a larger company that I was working for at the time, and the company was called Taptone because in the beginning they would literally, as a can would come by, they would tap it. There was a machine that would tap it, and there were acoustic sensors that would listen to the tone, and if it was not filled properly, it would have a different tone, and so that can could be ejected, and only the full cans would go through. Well, of course, it's come a long way since then. With all kinds of other sensors. But one of the things that I always found fascinating was when we would be talking with industry people from the different beverage companies about the labeling and the bottling processes and things of that nature. Really fascinating industry. Audrey Mersko, hi, how are you doing? I'm sorry, Anthony's here, not Audrey. I guess they share. So you never know which one is there if they don't tell you. Oh, John McKenzie, great to see you here. Yep, they make all the Coke and Pepsi make all the flavors I need. Yep, very cool, very cool. And the other thing that Coke and Pepsi are both doing too that I didn't think of is they are starting to look at working with the distilled beverages so that you can have a cocktail in a can. So that's kind of interesting too, right? Cocktail in a can kind of thing. Okay, now we had a question up here. Let's see if I can find it real quick, because I said we were going to get back to it. And this is from the Scrap Guy. I know this is off subject, but I'm curious. My shred My shred price is finally going up to 125 a ton, 6.25 a pound. I was so happy to see that. I hope the trend is going to keep up. What are your opinions? So in the last few minutes that we have, because at 3 o'clock, we are going over to see Scrapping Irish. And I've gotten really carried away with the fanciness here. So I have set up an auto redirect feature so that you don't have to do anything. If you're watching this stream, assuming that I and YouTube work properly together here, you will just automatically be fed right over to Scrapping Irish's live stream when I cut this one off. So let's go ahead and we can go ahead and chat about shred prices real quick. If folks have seen their prices going up anywhere. Ian is going to go take a shower real quick before Scrapping Irish's show. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. And Ian is saying he got 200 pounds a ton, a ton kg, which is good price for shred. Hey, Jules, how you doing? Welcome. So I have seen my shred prices not go up, but they haven't gone down either. They went up a couple weeks ago, and they've been somewhat stable since then. So the big yard here in the area is paying 7.45 cents a pound, and it's been that way for about 3-4 weeks or so. There's a yard very close to me, about a half mile away from the shark cage. They're only paying about 4 cents a pound, but that's because they buy it at 4 cents a pound, and then they truck it up to the bigger plant that is paying the 7.45 cents a pound. Of course, they're probably getting a little bit more, but so they've got to pay for the transportation costs and stuff to get it up to that larger yard. So if I am up north, I will go to the yard that's paying me the 7.45 cents a pound. If I'm at the shark cage and I just got a backlog, a buildup of shells from computers and stuff, then I just take it over there. It's a wash once I get done paying for the gasoline. CU Scrapping is saying that they just increased $20 a ton last week to $155 a ton. Awesome, sweet. So I wonder if my local yard is going to go up. Seems like prices always trend up in the spring when scrap in the north has been frozen in the groundwater. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, maybe they, I don't know. Maybe there's something to the seasonality of the prices there. I am going to look real quick while we're here. I'm going to look real quick at. We've got 2 minutes before we go over to see Mr. Irish. Let me see if I can very quickly look at the prices for my yard and see if they're planning on increasing. They may have posted increases for the week here. Well, I'll be daggone. Look at this. Right here, appliance shred. Oops. Let's push the right button, dummy. Right there, appliance shred just went up 20 cents a pound. So 7.65 cents a pound. How is that? Very cool. Aluminum cans. Look at this. Aluminum cans. 48 cents a pound. And what does it take? Is it 20? I think it's 24 12-ounce cans to make a pound of aluminum cans. So that's pretty cool. All right. So, hey, thank you, everybody, for bringing up the issue of the pricing, because I just now see that the price is going up. So that's very cool. Usually I don't find out until I get there. All right. So, thank you, Scrapping Irish, for reminding everybody. Don't forget to hit that like button, folks. Please remember to let me know in the comments or in an email what you like, what you don't like about the live stream, what you want me to work on. And we are going to head over to Scrapping Irish's stream. Now, again, when I end this, it should take you right to Scrapping Irish's live stream. If it doesn't, please go check out Scrapping Irish at Scrapping Irish on YouTube and join the live stream. We will see you all over there. Have a great day.